Near mint condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
This is Mr. Chris Claremont, a legend.
Melanie goes,
Tired.
How's it going, all you minties? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And back by popular demand are the Where to Start Reading segments. That's right. Today we are going to be talking about where to start reading Daredevil, the Man Without Fear. So join me. And welcome back, everybody. Before going any further, a big thank you to our patrons for making videos like this possible. Could not be doing this without you all. And the reading, or where to start reading segment is back. I brought back the reading orders, and I wanted to bring back this segment because people have been asking me where to start reading these characters in collected edition format. If you look at our channel and you go through the playlist and you look for the beginner's guide, that's where you're going to see the rest of these type of videos, where to start reading these characters or teams at times. And a big thank you to all of you that have been asking when I was going to bring this back. And the character that most of you that I saw wanted me to talk about was the Man Without Fear, Daredevil, Matt Murdock. This guy right here, probably because he's got this show coming right around the corner, and that trailer was awesome. So a big thank you also to my buddy Dom of X, who has helped me put this together. These take a long time to do, so I could not be doing this without him. And a reminder to smash that like button, please. We put out videos every day. It's a small thing you can do, but it means the world to us here. All right. If in case I missed anything, if you're like, wait a second, I bought my friend this trade paperback, or Omni if you're a really good friend, and it worked, and he got hooked, or they got hooked, or and I left it out. That's awesome. Leave it on the list. I would love to know what that is. This is just my personal list of books. So let's go ahead where I usually like to start, and that is the very beginning. That's right. There's nothing wrong with going to the beginning. Although some people can't read the Silver Age, don't worry. We've got you covered too. And we are talking about the origin of Daredevil. And that is the very first issue. And of course, I think the first 10 issues really give you an idea of what that Silver Age was like. And you have stories in here from Stan Lee. You've got stories in here from Bill Everett and Wally Wood and Joe Orlando, just to name a few of those legendary creators. You have the stories that tell you who Matt Murdock was before he became Daredevil, how he was saving a man from being hit by a truck and was blinded by radioactive chemicals. And that origin is still part of Daredevil to this day, and that is the beauty of the 616 universe. You'll see early battles with Elektra, Stiltman, the Purple Man, Namor the Submariner, where he gets his new cool costume by Wally Wood, and the Owl. But you also see supporting cast characters here, like Foggy Nelson, and perhaps what a lot of people think is his one true love, Karen Page. So that's where I think is best to start. If you have to read everything, go to the very beginning. This is available in Mighty Marvel Masterworks, in trade paperbacks, in Masterworks format, in Epic format, and in Omnibus format. It has been reprinted many times, and it is still in print in some kind of format. About 20 years later, from the first appearance of Daredevil, came a young man named Frank Miller that was an artist and wanted to be a writer. And when he got to writing, it's when Daredevil went up to another level. Because I'm going to be talking about Elektra, which is the very first issue that he wrote, Andrew. And of course, he's not alone. He's joined by Klaus Janson. But what Frank Miller brought to Daredevil was just unheard of at the time. It was taking the Silver Age silliness, which a lot of people really enjoy, and I get, and propelling the character into this dark realm that he hadn't really seen before. You've got characters in here like Elektra. You've got characters in here like Stick. You've got the Hand. You've got the return of Bullseye, but a lot more deadlier. And the biggest thing that Daredevil did was make Kingpin his arch nemesis, a character borrowed from the pages of Spider-Man, and making him into this mob boss trying to take over Hell's Kitchen, but not on Matt Murdock's watch. This really made the character who he is. Everything that you've probably seen, or you will see after this, right here on the list, is inspired by the work of Frank Miller and Klaus Janson. amazing. And anybody that has ever read it for the first time, and it's their first Daredevil comic, they're just blown away by how easy it is to get into the characters. And part of that is because as readers were reading Daredevil, they were also introduced to the concept of Elektra and Stick. Frank Miller does this amazing retcon where he just makes you think, oh, they were part of Matt Murdock's life, his entire life. And we just weren't aware of it up until this issue right here. And that to me is just an amazing feat. Not a lot of writers can do that. So that's why I am recommending Daredevil by Miller and Janson. It's available in omnibus format. It's available in Masterworks format. It's available in trade paperback format. I think they were called Visionaries. And no Epic collections yet. And the Mighty Marvel Masterworks haven't gotten there yet. But I'm sure there will be sometime. It's been collected many times over. But absolutely, I mean, this list would not be complete without Frank Miller and Klaus Janson's run. Labor's Lost Love. Now, this one here I wanted to talk about because this is the legendary comic creator Dennis O'Neil teaming up with David Mazzucchelli, who you'll see on the list here in a minute. But this shows you the side of Matt Murdock that a lot of writers have a hard time showing. And that is how to balance the responsibility of being a superhero while carrying on a daily life and having all these love interests. In here, you're going to see the characters like Foggy Nelson, his new girlfriend, Gloriana O'Brien, and his ex-fiancée, Heather Glenn, and how he balances this life. You're also going to have a story in here with Black Widow, and I think she also plays a huge part in Matt Murdock's life. And just how simple it can be for him, but the stories in here by O'Neil really drag him into the mud. But not as much as the next story. Now, this one here is only available, there is a trade paperback just called The Labor's Lost Love. I want to say that's about the only way to get this outside of the Marvel Masterworks format, because there's no other collection yet that has these stories in there. Oh, although the epics are getting pretty close, so yeah, absolutely recommending this one. This one goes under the radar for a lot of people, and a lot of people want to see like a Dennis O'Neil omnibus for reasons found in this very collection. I mentioned Matt Murdock's life getting dragged across the floor, but not so much as it happens in Born Again. Born Again is, oh man. You know, some people I've seen a discussion that some people are like, no, Born Again, you need to read more Daredevil in order to enjoy it. Absolutely not. This is the trade paperback. This and another trade, which I'll mention later on, are the trade paperbacks that I give my friends to get them in the Daredevil. And they want more after this. They're not satisfied enough with this. This to them is the beginning of what will become a huge, journey, if you will, to read Daredevil. Born Again is the simple story of the return of Matt's one true love, Karen Page, and how the Kingpin might know Daredevil's secret identity. Within the first few pages, the Kingpin is out to destroy Matt Murdock and making him lose his job, draining his funds, blowing up the place that he lives, and making him homeless. He has destroyed Matt's life internally and has physically broken him and left him for dead. And you will see how a man can fall and stand up again. How far he can fall and still get up and keep fighting that fight. A man without hope is a man without fear. So it is the return of Frank Miller to the character. It is David Mazzucchelli, who was working with Dennis O'Neil in the previous collection I was talking about, working together on this masterpiece, regarded to a lot of people as the best Daredevil story. It can be found in omnibus format. It can be found in Marvel Masterworks format. No Epic collections of this era yet, but many trade paperbacks, many editions, and a beautiful gallery edition showcasing David Mazzucchelli's artwork. And if you're a big fan of the art, there's also IDW published the artist edition of this, and it is a stellar work of art. What happens when Frank Miller leaves the book? I think that's what Marvel editors were wondering. After Born Again, where do you go? and Nocenti's run. So we're talking about a touch of Typhoid. She's joined by John Romita Jr. and introduces us to this new character named Typhoid Mary, who will play a very complicated part in Matt Murdock's life. But what I see a lot of people say is that, oh, this is so lighthearted, it's not dirty and dark and gritty like Frank Miller's, but there's a lot of dark moments in here. I mean, her first issue had somebody committing suicide, and what she does is she takes Matt Murdock and puts him into the real world, dealing with social justice issues, dealing with political issues, while throwing in elements of the supernatural in there, which we haven't really talked a lot about. But I feel like she does it a lot more than writers like Frank Miller, especially when you have the Hand involved. But whenever you have characters like Blackheart, especially during the Inferno saga, so yes, I do want you to keep reading this because it's just amazing. And I think it is very underrated. I cannot wait for that omnibus to come out. So yes, it will be available in omnibus format. I think it's one of the greatest Daredevil runs. Not just like, part of making this list is not just picking my favorites. There are some in here that I'm not the biggest fan of, but I also understand is easier for people to get into than some of my favorite runs, which you'll see here in a little bit. There's one particular issue during the, in issue 253, makes for a perfect introduction to Matt Murdock during this era after the Frank Miller and David Mazzucchelli Born Again. It establishes where he's at internally and externally, and also putting in new elements, new characters, and new villains that he'll be fighting off against. The Fall of the Kingpin, sometimes known as Last Rites in the trade paperback edition. The 90s gets a bad rap for just, I think people tend to put everything about the 90s, everything that was bad about the 90s, and consider it the entire 90s. There's some great stuff in the 90s. Let's not even get into the Vertigo stuff. Let's keep to like the Marvel stuff. The Fall of the Kingpin, to me and a lot of Daredevil people, this is the one by D.G. Chichester. And I think a lot of people think of D.G. Chichester as the guy that brought you Fall from Grace, which I understand, but this is so much more than Fall from Grace. D.G. Chichester takes the character of Daredevil and gives us a true follow-up to Born Again. We saw what the Kingpin did in Born Again, and this shows you that dichotomy between the characters of Daredevil and Kingpin. How one man can break the other man. And it's just a great comeuppance story. How Matt might finally be able to break the Kingpin. It's a sweet 4-issue run. It's been collected in trade paperback. It's part of the Epic collections. There is no omnibus of this era yet. Lee Weeks, Uncanny Omar Talk Pretty One Day, is the artist on the book, and it is just superb. You can see a lot of the, of course, Joe Kubert kind of inspiration in his artwork, and it's absolutely beautiful. And not very many people talk about this era of Daredevil. The Man Without Fear. That's right, another Frank Miller story. But it is a great, if not the greatest entry point to Daredevil, because it is the origin of Daredevil told with all the things that Frank Miller introduced during his entire run and in Born Again. So this took place in the 90s. He's joined by John Romita Jr., having a little bit of a different art style during this time. And it is the movie script of Daredevil that never came to be. So we never got the movie out of this. So what Frank Miller did was broke it down into 5 different issues and gave us this amazing miniseries showcasing Matt Murdock being blinded by that chemical truck and then growing up with Stick as his mentor. So we actually get these flashbacks. We actually see him and Foggy in college and meeting Elektra for the first time and those kind of adventures that they have. And perhaps what could be the first run-in with the Kingpin. We don't even see the costume for a majority of this run. Oh, it's such a great introduction to the character. This is the other one I was talking about with Born Again. Man Without Fear is the other collection that I give people to get into this character. It is available in trade paperbacks, many trade paperbacks at that. It's been in print many times. As a matter of fact, the new printing that just came out last year, I think it's on its 19th printing. It's crazy. There is a Marvel Premiere hardcover, standard size, but if you want it in an oversized format, there is the Frank Miller Daredevil Companion Omnibus that has not only Born Again, but it also has the Man Without Fear. So this list would not be complete without having the Man Without Fear. Guardian Devil. Guardian Devil was Marvel's way of getting the characters back to their true nature. It is Kevin Smith, of course, Kevin Smith from Clerks, from Mallrats, from Clerks 2, from Clerks 3, Chasing Amy. You all know who Kevin Smith is. And teaming up with Joe Quesada, who at that time was becoming editor at Marvel Comics along with Jimmy Palmiotti. And this was their idea, to brand Daredevil as one of the Marvel Knights books, and bringing back a lot of elements that were missing from Daredevil, or they felt like were missing from Daredevil. And one of the characters they brought back was Karen Page. And this is one of the many reasons why I enjoyed Daredevil in the character of Matt Murdock, is the complexity that it comes to his character. Because Nocenti questions the morality of Daredevil. And we have, of course, Frank Miller dragging him through the mud. What Kevin Smith does is makes him question almost his belief, because Matt Murdock is a Catholic, so he has this belief in God that he's doing the right thing, and Kevin Smith's Guardian Devil makes him question those beliefs, and it goes deep into the psychology of Matt Murdock as a Christian, and I think it does it so well that, you know, as a reader, you're going through all these horrible things that are about to happen to Matt Murdock. Because let's face it, I don't think Matt could have a happy moment. At least maybe he's granted like 5 issues of happiness. But oh, it's so wonderful. It is a great jumping on point, because through these issues, they even renumbered them, you get to see the character of Matt Murdock, who he is, who his supporting cast is, and who his arch nemesis are. Plus, you get to find out exactly what makes him such a complex character, why he always carries this guilt with him. And this has been available as part of the Marvel Knights Omnibus. That's what it's called. It's been available in oversized hardcover. There are many trade paperback printings of this, and a Guardian Devil Gallery edition as well. And speaking of Marvel Knights, the ongoing series, which only lasted about 15 issues, by Chuck Dixon and Ed Barreto, showcases how Daredevil works with other people. Like, he was never really a part of a team. It's Daredevil, right? He's the guardian of Hell's Kitchen. He is not the biggest team player, right? Even though he was maybe supposed to be in Bendis' Avengers. But anyway, that's a whole other story. But what this does is Daredevil forms a group, even though they're an unnamed superhero group, but it's the Marvel Knights. So you have Black Widow, Cloak and Dagger, Morbius, Elektra, Blade, Ghost Rider, the Punisher, Moon Knight comes in for some fun, Shang-Chi, Luke Cage. You even get some Black Knight. So you have like these streetwise heroes, these down-to-earth heroes, forming a group together. So it almost feels like those Defenders from the TV show, the Netflix show. It kind of feels like those characters that are more grounded. They're not going to fight cosmic fights. They're not going to go and try to pick a fight with Mr. Sinister. Although you get some nice appearances in here from villains that I wasn't expecting. But this is a lot of fun, and definitely shows the side of Daredevil. If you want to know more of a bigger, like, how he works together as a team, this is the book that you need to get. And this only has been available in trade paperback format. That's it. Yellow. Daredevil Yellow. Tim Sell teaming up with Jeff Loeb for these legendary, they're known now as the color Marvel comics, because you have Spider-Man Blue, you've got Hulk Gray, Captain America White, and Daredevil Yellow. And they're all retro series. They are a look back at a simpler time. So this is when Daredevil was wearing his yellow costume. And you find out through here why he decided to go on those colors. And this is a throwback to a look at the life and relationship with Karen Page and the challenges that they both face while he's trying to protect her from danger. So you'll see villains in here like the Owl and the Purple Man, and how she gets kidnapped. Because in those early Silver Age stories, that's what happened to Karen Page a lot. And this shows you an internal look at both Karen and Matt Murdock. And oh my gosh, just get those tissues out, because there's some beautiful, beautiful moments in here. So it shows not a lighter and simpler time, because there's still some sad things that happen in here because it is a look back. It's a modern time Daredevil looking back at a simpler time, and I mean, who doesn't do that from time to time? And that is available in trade paperback. There's the Omnibus edition, or it's an OHC. I don't think it was ever really called an Omnibus. And then, of course, a beautiful gallery edition that just came out last year. Underboss. So we are finally getting to the Brian Michael Bendis and Alex Maleev era of Daredevil. This takes place after the Kevin Smith and Joe Quesada, and even the David Mack stuff that he did. But Underboss is the very first storyline where Brian Michael Bendis brings everything he did from his independent stuff. So he did a lot of crime noir type of stories, like True Detective type of comics, and he brings it all in here. And there's a gritty look to it with Alex Maleev's artwork, and it is a wonderful introduction to the character. You don't need to know anything, and that's the beauty of coming up with a list like this, because rereading this, you don't need to know anything about Matt Murdock. Everything you need to know about Matt Murdock and Daredevil is told in the very pages inside of these collections. And believe me, if you get the trade paperback, you will want to keep reading, because what happens is just, man, what he ends up doing with the Kingpin, because you always have to have a Kingpin in these stories, but Typhoid Mary makes a return through here. You get to see a new version of Bullseye, a deadlier version of Bullseye, plus a new love interest. And then what happens if the world finds out that Daredevil is this blind lawyer named Matt Murdock? What could that possibly mean? So this has been available in epic format, in trade paperback formats, in oversized hardcovers, and in omnibus formats. Daredevil versus Punisher, means and ends. I had to throw in the Punisher because some of my favorite stories, whether it's Nocenti's or whether it's the actual Punisher Marvel Knights comic that shows them fighting, I think David Lapham's wonderful means and ends gets overlooked. This is David Lapham, who did Stray Bullets, so he's no stranger to these type of crime noir stories like Bendis was writing. But this one gets overlooked because there's no real collection where this was put into another trade paperback, a thicker trade collecting other fights with the Punisher. It has just been collected in one trade paperback, and that is it. So it is literally the fight between Daredevil and Punisher. And this is set during the time when Daredevil is claiming to call himself the new Kingpin of Hell's Kitchen. That's what gets the Punisher involved. And it's such an awesome story. And lots of violence. It's part of the, I think, yeah, this one did come out during the Marvel Knights imprint, so they can get away with a little bit more stuff. And oh man, it's good. I don't want to tell you what happens, but it is set during the Bendis time. But it is such a good introduction to both Frank Castle and Matt Murdock, and why they operate so different, and why they have different beliefs, and how far Frank is willing to take it. And Matt is like, no, we can't do that. For now. Black Panther, the man without fear. That's right. I wanted to throw in something a little unusual in here in case you're a bigger fan of Black Panther and you want to get a taste of what Daredevil could be like. David Liss does this story here where Black Panther has taken over Hell's Kitchen during the events of this storyline called Shadowland, where perhaps Matt Murdock, Daredevil, has gone bad. So somebody needs to protect Hell's Kitchen. And he's joined by Francavilla and Jefte Palo and Shot Mattenborough, just to name a few of other creators during this run. And this run ran for a while. It went all the way from 513, almost a year, I think, 513 to 520. Maybe more than a year. It went for a while before it wrapped up this storyline of what T'Challa could be doing in Hell's Kitchen, and how he's still a big part of course, Wakanda, and having to fight off obscure characters like Vlad the Impaler. This one is available in skinny trade paperbacks and also in a thick complete collection. Anytime I mention Nocenti or Mark Waid's Daredevil, there are people on the comments that are like, oh, it's too light, it's too hokey, it's funny, I don't think he understands the character, or she understood the character. I remember one time when we lived in the early 90s, she got called a commie, I think, because of the way that she wrote a lot of those issues. But Mark Waid is the next introductory point for anyone that wants to get into Daredevil. It may seem like a lighter Daredevil, a funnier Daredevil, and even in the art style by the wonderful and just underrated Paulo Rivera and then Marcos Martin, but Chris Samnee, of course, but the artwork helps elevate the idea that perhaps this is a different take on Daredevil. He seems happier now. He's more content. Oh, he's moving to California. But there is a darkness to this. There is a reason why Matt Murdock is acting the way that he is. So I think it's a great jumping on point for anybody that has never read it, and you're reading about this character, and then something happens. I don't want to spoil what happens. That makes you question, what the hell have I been reading about? Who is this guy? Oh man, and when it gets dark, it gets dark. It is, to me, a symbol of depression and how people can fight off this depression. There's wonderful moments, oh my gosh, wonderful moments through this run that just bring me to tears, and it gives you hope. And I think that's what comics are to me. It gives you that idea of hope, that there will be a better day, that everything may seem to be falling apart right now, but things will get better. And that's why I'm choosing Daredevil by Mark Waid. Oh man, it's so good. It's available in oversized hardcover, trade paperbacks, and in omnibus format. Let's talk about Chip Zdarsky's era. Chip Zdarsky has this wonderful mix to me of Frank Miller, Ed Brubaker, and Nocenti, and just putting them together and giving us this amazing story about a believable character, a vigilante or a hero really, that seems to be aging. Like, he's not as young as he used to be. I love that about his Daredevil run, that, you know, his knees giving out. He's not as fast as he used to be. He's making more mistakes, and Marco Cacchetto's artwork in here, oh my gosh, it's so good. Something happens within the first issue that will change Matt Murdock's life. There is a mistake that is made that will change the status quo of Daredevil, and it will keep you hooked. And the way that he writes Daredevil, it's for new readers, and it's for old readers. It's for anybody that just wants to read a good story. So you can jump right in and get to know the character and his entire supporting cast. Oh, it is available in trade paperbacks, it is available in oversized hardcover, and it is available in omnibus format. The oversized hardcovers did not wrap up the series, though. That comes later. Now, let's keep talking about Chip Zdarsky's run, because it's that good. So if you want to see an event, this is the event. Devil's Reign. Now, of course, people are going to be like, what about Shadowland? Yeah, that's okay. Devil's Reign is where I think you get to see how these streetwise characters, these characters can come together to take down the big villain, because you have a new status quo for the Kingpin, and he wants revenge on Daredevil, and he now has the capability of making heroes illegal in the streets of New York. It is so awesome. Plus, this gives you 2 Daredevils for the price of 1. That's right. During this time, you have 2 different Daredevils. You have a Lady Devil, I think She-Devil, or no, maybe Roseanne took that copyright. Anyway, you have a lady wearing Daredevil's outfit, and you have a dude wearing Daredevil's outfit. And who are these people? Are they Matt Murdock or any kind of relation to Matt Murdock? Well, one way to find out, because I ain't spoiling that, it is a lot of fun. You get to see a lot of other characters show up through here. Not even like, you know, Luke Cage or characters you expect to show up, but characters like Spider-Man, characters like the Thunderbolts playing a part through of this. So if the event is what gets you, because I know a lot of my viewers get into characters because of events, this is the event that will get you into Daredevil. Absolutely. And this is available in an omnibus format in trade paperbacks. Now, normally during this time, I like to talk about other type of universes you can get into. Like, you can get into the Earth X Daredevil, or the Ultimate Daredevil, or even the Daredevil 2099. But honestly, those don't give you really the idea of why we love Daredevil. So I'm just sticking to the 616 universe. All right. So the last book, the last introduction, I think what makes a great introduction to Daredevil is the one by Saladin Ahmed and Aaron Kuder. This is the most latest run of Daredevil. But because Chip Zdarsky left him with a new status quo, Saladin Ahmed is reintroducing you because he himself is putting Matt Murdock out there as a new type of character. There are memories of being Daredevil, and I don't want to spoil what happens through here, but how can this Matt Murdock be Daredevil? And you find out together how this is all going to work. And back to the Catholic roots for this one too. There's a lot of that going on, especially in that very first volume, the very first 5 issues. Now, this one is only available in trade paperback so far. Who knows? Maybe one day, if Saladin Ahmed writes enough Daredevil, we can have an omnibus format. Now, if you're interested in any of the books I've talked about for recommending where to start reading Daredevil, check out our sponsors.
If you're in Europe and you're interested in buying these books, definitely check out Walt's Comic Shop in Berlin, Germany. They have the cheapest pre-order prices, flat shipping rate of €12 for all EU countries, emails answered within 24 hours, waltscomicshop.com, and you can use the code Near Mint Condition at checkout and get free shipping for all EU countries with your first order over €40. That's Walt's Comic Shop, your reliable source for omnis and premium collected editions in Europe. Ding!
CheapGraphicNovels.com, your online home for graphic novels and collected editions up to 50% off cover price. They have excellent shipping and prompt and helpful service. Check out their bargain deals for up to 90% off cover price. And don't forget, the CGN also takes pre-orders. That way you don't miss out on the hottest releases. And they are currently running a special promotion for you Minties. If you're a first-time customer, after receiving your order confirmation email, reply back to that email and let them know Near Mint Condition sent you their way. They will then apply a free shipping promotional credit to your next order in the US. Cheap Graphic Novels, your source for the hottest books with the kind of deep discount, quality shipping, and customer service that will keep you coming back for more. And that was it. That was my recommendation for where to start reading Old Hornhead. Let me know in the comments down below what you think of the list, what you would have added, what you're like, hell no, man, I tried to read that and it sucked, and that's okay. It's all subjective, right? Just because you didn't get into it doesn't mean that somebody else can't. Just trying to give people ideas, and we do live in a world of the collected editions now, so it's so much easier to get into. But yes, let me know what your list would include, what I left out. I thought about Ed Brubaker, even Fall from Grace. Ed Brubaker's my favorite Daredevil run, but I don't think it makes for a good introduction. I think, anyway, I would love to know what you think and what other characters you would love for me to tackle in these type of where to start reading segments. But that's it, everybody. I'm out of here. Stay healthy and safe out there. Much love.